This weekly watch diary will be covering what I've watched in the past 2 weeks. I'll be starting off with Fall of the House of Usher, which, as usual, Mike Flanagan did not let me down. This was a wild ride. So the things that stood out most to me in this series is the utter selfishness that a lot of the characters had and their apathy towards other people. If you look at so many of the Usher children, including Frederick Usher and his sister Madeline, they're such selfish, self-centered people. For the children, you can maybe give them a little bit of leeway. Probably that probably had something to do with being brought up by Roderick Usher and spoiled with money and things like that. It doesn't excuse it, but you can give them a bit of leeway regarding that. As for Roderick Usher himself, I have such great hate for that man. He is so selfish. For the entirety of the series, as the children keep dying one after the other, one thing that really started to stand out was this man does not care about his children at all. For each death, he's so focused on preserving his so-called legacy, preserving his company, that if it were a more thoughtful or careful person, I think the first two deaths should have started cluing him as to what happened in the past, and also for him to start finding a way to rectify things, or I don't know, just to start resorting to looking for solutions. But for each death, the most important thing to him just seemed to be him trying to protect his company and to get his kid in lines and to get whoever the snitch was. And when we do eventually find out what happened that night at the party, when the deal was proposed to he and his sister, it really struck me that his sister, the person with no child, actually took a second to contemplate, while Mr. Man, who had 2 children at the time, accepted the deal so quickly. And after that happened, a more prudent person would have been like, okay, I'm going to offer these children a good life, a luxurious life, and I know they're going to die, so I am going to try to protect whatever future offspring I might have by not having them at all. But no, he just went on having more and more children. And then towards the end, when the final death happened, the one person I didn't want to die, but I get it, the deal was the deal. I don't think he was actually grieving for the person. I think he was just grieving for his so-called lost legacy. If you even see what he says to her a few scenes before it happened, he's more concerned with her giving the company a positive image. Yes, she would have done positive things due to how the character is, but I think he was more concerned with the fact that her positive actions would have given his company and his name, would have given it a rebrand, he would have washed and covered up the Usher name. So I think that's what he was more concerned about. I don't think he cared about her at all. And seeing the end was pretty apt. The last character, that was the only person I really cared about. Everyone else, yeah, there were moments where I felt pity, but for the most part, they were quite horrible people, to be honest. The scene that really stood out the most to me was, that scene where you just see this like rain of bodies just falling down, which was such a strong image. And if you really think about it in terms of the kind of times we live in today, not even just today but also in the past, of so many people in positions of power who whose actions caused so many deaths on the daily, whose actions ruined so many lives on the daily. And at that scale, by the time it keeps happening for a very long time, I think we do kind of become apathetic to it. But seeing that presentation, it was such a powerful and gripping scene to just look at. Like, wow, when you see like 1 million people, I think the number can be a bit difficult to comprehend. Yes, it's large. I don't think you can quite comprehend how large 1 million dead people are until you see such a visual like that. It's so visceral. I was like, fuck this guy. I genuinely do not care about what's happening to him. What even hurt me most was his death was so easy. To be honest, if you think of it, his children dying before him honestly was not that much of a punishment to him because he didn't even care about them. But the deal was a deal and it happened. All in all, I quite like the series. Moving on from that, I also watched episode 5 and 6 of Filing for Love, and this series is just building itself up to be one of my favorites ever. If we continue on this streak that we're going on right now, I think it's going to be like a top 10, maybe even top 5 K-drama for me. First of all, in this span of time, they resolved the whole roommate dilemma. I was kind of worried that would be something that would cause a misunderstanding down the line. I'm so glad they resolved it in such a mature way. Number 2, they also resolved the maybe she's having an affair with the VP or something. I love how they resolved that. And not only do we, the audience, get to know that, there's nothing there, they made sure that the scene happened where the male lead could see it. So there is no misunderstanding where we're like, okay, we know she's not having an affair, but the male lead doesn't know. And so it becomes this big misunderstanding in the future where we're like, no, she's not doing it. But then I'm happy that scene where she's pushing the idiot away happened and he saw it. Thank the Lord. I'm also very, very happy with how the romance is progressing. It is so good. And not only are we seeing the romance progress, we're also discovering a lot about our characters. The theme of this happening in an office and them investigating things has led to us getting to know more about the male and female lead, but also other characters surrounding them. So this week we started to get a look into the vice president's home life. We got to see his crazy wife and how things are over there. On the whole, I mean, yes, it's a bad marriage, but I don't feel bad for him because I don't know yet how this marriage came to be. I don't know how things went down between him and the female lead in the past. So I'm just gonna wait to see. I don't empathize with him yet, but let's see what happens in future episodes. And then we also got a look into the female lead's past, which, oh god, I love this drama so much. It's so good. Like, things are really starting to make more sense as we progress, and Lord, I pray we should just continue on this trajectory. That's how I want things to go. No stupid misunderstandings, please. I also checked out Feel What You Feel. I don't know, it was nice, I guess. On the whole, I'll give it like a 5. It had some good moments, but I think it was really brought down by I don't know. I felt like the creators kept making up situations to prevent the two leads from getting to know each other's feelings or acknowledging those feelings to each other. Some of them were just, I don't know, ridiculous. I was like, nah, okay, it's fine, I guess. Like, it's really sweet and adorable, but if you look at everything that happens from the first to last episode, we don't really get much character growth or plot progression. I don't know. It just, yeah, it was okay. I mean, nothing egregiously bad, but it was just pretty meh. And after another misunderstanding and another misunderstanding, I was like, okay, so this is what we're doing with. We're just going to keep postponing them getting together until the very last episode for some reason. I don't know. It was fine, I guess. Then I also watched Wake Up Dead Man, which was, it was great. Starting from the beginning. The first priest guy, I can't remember his name right now. The guy that Josh Brolin plays, he was hit so close to home regarding someone I know in real life. You know, the aggressiveness, the even the scene that really, I was like, oh my god, this feels so familiar, was when he would intentionally target certain people and speak of what he considered their sins and their faults, and wrap it up in a way that he was just preaching to them. That is so familiar to me. Maybe someday I'll talk about it. That is so familiar to me because I lived that scenario, being in church while the pastor just hammers on and on and on a particular thing, and we all know who he's talking about, but nobody says anything. Nobody defends anybody. We're just sitting there. Sometimes even he would ask the person to stand up and begin to just lash out and ask them questions. Not that he would really wait for the answers, but he would just go on and on and on, and we would just sit there and just bear everything. And that happened service after service after service. That really hit home for me because I saw that character and immediately knew, yeah, this is not a good person. There's no way you want to paint this. I know this guy is not a good person. And the ending where we have this display of grace rather than digging for the truth, that really stuck with me. I mean, I would have been fine with either way. I did kind of suspect who the person was. What I couldn't quite get was the motive. From the moment I saw that character after the death happened, I started to suspect that character, but I couldn't quite I knew it would have something to do with religious dogma, but I couldn't quite figure out what would cause it. The ending is nice. I really liked it. I think among the three movies in the Knives Out trilogy, my favorite is still the first one, Knives Out, and then this one, and then Glass Onion. Alright, moving on from that, I also started watching We Are All Trying Here. I've watched the first 2 episodes, and let me tell you, it was not a fun ride. From the introduction of our male lead, he is quite the unlikable character. I was like, this guy is insufferable. I completely understand why people would not want to be around him. The way he behaves with his friends was just so appalling to watch. And I mean, not that they were great people anyway, but it was still really bad. The initial portions of episode 1, I was just like, my god, this guy is just soul draining. I felt very vindicated when the character Hyejin, I believe she's called, was like, you are ruining my peace of mind. I don't want you around me. You're draining my energy. Please leave. And I thought she was the best in the friend group, just finally, instead of just enduring his presence and, not even enduring it only, but sort of cutting him off without cutting him off. They would just sit there, kind of ignore him and just let him go on and on and on. Even though both parties find it tiring, I really respected her for just being like, you know what, I'm done with this. I don't really need your kind of energy in my life, so it's better if we just part ways. I loved her character for doing that, and I also loved the way she spoke to her husband, and she was like, and you can see that she does have some empathy for him, but she told him, like, if you were also in his position where, you're seeing everyone succeed and you're just the only one who's stuck, you would do even worse. Yes, she empathizes, but she also understands that she does not need that kind of energy in her life. So I really respected that of the character. I am very interested to see what they do with this character as things progress. It's very, very rare we get someone this unlikable. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I'm sure there's going to be, character growth. So I'm curious to see where they take that. I'm also very curious to see his novel, like what he does with the plot, and if that will be integrated into the story somehow, if there's some parallels we can draw or something like that. I'm curious to see. And then I also watched episode 7 and 8 of Only Friends, and yeah, this is where I'm stopping. Like this is my line. I am done. The series is exhausting. It is boring. It is so boring. I don't know why they gave it the name Only Friends. As much as, there's an argument to be made that the first Only Friends, created so much drama, and things were messy, but there were so many very interesting things the series had to say regarding, different type of human relationships and different type of characters. Even if you didn't particularly like the character, I think a lot of characters were very well done. Case in point, Boston. We see who Boston is for the entirety of season 1. I like the fact that the makers did not change him. That, love didn't make him this faithful person. I like that he just kept on being the selfish person because some people are just like that. The way the plot of this season progresses, it just felt like the makers were spoon feeding me. Not just spoon feeding me, but spoon feeding me overboiled, blended oatmeal. It was like the tag for this season while writing the plot was tell, don't show. The way everything is oversimplified, overspecified, the dialogues are boring. Nothing is really left to the imagination. You see something happen in a scene, not only will the characters in the scene explain exactly what they feel and exactly what they're doing. Not only do we get that, but we also get these boring character segments where they will also double down on the thing they just told you in the scene that just ended. I don't know what the reasoning behind this choice was. Case in point, let's look at Sandra from season 1. There's a scene where, Sand and Ray are in the car, they're making out, and then he gets a call from what's Book's character's name? I can't remember, but Book's character calls him. Now, he leaves Sand and goes to Book's character's rescue. We see Sand's expression change to that of disappointment, but we don't really get to see the depths of that disappointment until the next scene where they both meet up, where if you see the way that Sand is behaving towards Ray, you can tell that Ray abandoning him hurts him more than he's letting on. Like, he's feeling hurt. And from this, we can imply that Sand has started developing feelings for Ray, right? Just a few scenes and you can get this from the character. And this is not to say I don't even like Only Friends season 1 that much. I was just very invested in first and Kauchung's character, that's Sandra. The progression of the relationship was what really kept me watching that series. But even as much as I kind of just like that series, I just like it, I don't love it. Even with characters like what's his name? Force and Book's character, Top and something. I can't remember the other guy's name. Even with those two, you still had so much to unpack. Flawed as that relationship was, you had so much to unpack with the cheating, with him finding out, Book's character finding out, his reaction to that, him lashing out, him using what's his name? Him using Ray's emotions to kind of heal himself, but not heal himself. Him using Ray to kind of hide how hurt he is and to also hurt Top, right? Those are very interesting things. Like the scene where we find that he knows, but he's just been pretending that he doesn't know. Top notch scene. There is not a single scene in this entire series that can compare to that scene. That scene where he just plays that recording. My jaw had a great introduction to the floor. It was so great. The only character who can have a scene that even comes close to compare to that is Dean. That's it. All the other characters are so boring. Like, it's bad enough we're being spoon fed the plot, but we're being spoon fed a boring plot. That's what makes it even more infuriating. I wish I could put into words how frustrating and boring the watching experience was, especially these last two episodes I just watched. Take, for example, Arnold and Tua, right? This is the episode after Arnold finds out that Tua lied to him and he had actually been paying him out of his own pocket. I did not care when that happened. Not a single bit. I did not care. Why? Because to be honest, I don't have anything to hold on to be able to enjoy these characters as characters. They're just so flimsy. There is nothing. I don't know anything about Arnold and I don't know anything about Tua. There's nothing about Arnold that will make this impactful for me as a viewer watching this character react to this situation. Like, I did not care one single bit. And then the way that this conflict is resolved is also boring. I I don't know how to put into words how boring everything is. I am not interested in the relationships, that's the friendships, the feuds, the romance, nothing. It's all very, very boring. And it doesn't help that a lot of the actors are not very good. I'll just be honest. Some of them are just, I can see the effort and not in a good way. So yeah, I'm giving up on this. Dean was a blissful character, was a wonderful character to watch, but that is not enough reason to keep me to this train wreck. I don't enjoy it, so there's no reason for me to continue. On that note, same thing with Dwang with You. I've gotten to episode 2 and I have gotten the revelation. I mean, it was quite obvious that I don't like it, so I'm also going to drop that. And finishing on a good note, I started watching From. I'm currently on episode 6 of the first season and it has been wonderful. I initially was going to watch The Midnight Club after finishing the Fall of the House of Usher, but it feels like I'm kind of reluctant to finish all the Mike Flanagan shows, so I think I'm going to keep that one for a bit before I watch it. The deaths that occur in the very first episode of From sets the tone for the brutality that will be happening in this series, and I find it quite interesting and odd how these monsters are unlike what monsters are usually portrayed as in movies, in horror series and things like that. They're so very calm and smiling. Oh, the smiling is creepy, but they look so normal and yet are so vicious and very brutal. So I'm very, very curious about that. Like, what are they? Why are they doing this? It kind of reminds me of Attack on Titans. When we see these titans just keep on eating people and you just want to find out like why. I mean, honestly, no reason would be an excuse, but you just really want to know like why. What is the reasoning behind this? It's the same thing here. I'm just curious like why. And it's the way they just smile and they just slowly walk towards their prey. Like, what is going on in this place? I'm so curious. I'm also very curious about how time works here. Like, where they're currently stuck at. Does the time run the same as, in the outside world? Where is this location? How come people from different places are getting into there? I'm also very curious about so many of the characters. I want to know more about them, what's happened in the past. Like, is there some reasoning to the kind of people that end up here. I mean, it's not in a you deserve it, but kind of like, is there something that occurred to these people that made them end up here? It's also very fascinating to me how a society like this functions. Like, you have no money, so basically everyone does things just because they can, like for the sake of community. Like in the diner, the lady who cooks, and everyone goes there for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, and she just does it for doing sake, really, because there's no monetary gain to be made of it. I'm also very interested in the people who adapt versus the people who keep trying to escape. Like dichotomy, you can see that some people, I mean, they've not completely let their guard down, but they're definitely not as passionate. They're definitely not as driven as others in trying to find a way out of this place. I'm very, very interested in the relationship between the Sheriff Boyd, and his son Ellis. I'm very interested in how things became divided as, the colony versus the town. I'm interested in what happened to Sheriff Boyd's wife, and then the reverend, the pastor guy. How did he come here? What kind of person he is? I'm starting to see a bit of madness in the way he behaves. I hope that will not become a problem later. I'm very interested in the voices that Sarah hears. Like, who are they? What are they? What do they want? Are they the same as the people attacking them, or are they also stuck here? And then them being able to communicate to her, like, how does that work? There's so much to be explored here, and I am excited to find out. I am going to binge the hell out of it. And I don't think they're done. I think it's still showing. I think they're on the 4th season or something. I hope it's the last one, or else I'm going to have to wait for future seasons. Oh no. I'm really, really enjoying it, and well, we'll see how that goes. And this is where I will end today's video. Today is the 19th of May 2026. Bye.